Hey, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2 or PF2. I love this system. And as a longtime player of a lot of systems, including D&D and World of Darkness and other stuff, I want to share my thoughts on things I find along the way that are just interesting or strange or fun. So you want to play as an alchemist as your first character in Pathfinder 2? Okay, alchemist is complicated, so here's what you need to know. The alchemist class is really 4 different classes under the label of alchemist. Because each type of alchemist, each of their research fields, works completely differently. So ignore the title alchemist. We're going to do it like this. There's bomber, which is pretty self-explanatory. You throw bombs. It's a ranged attacker. Chirurgeon. It's an old term. It just means surgeon, which is fancy, sounds cool, but it's also misleading. You don't actually perform surgery on anyone. You make healing elixirs, which are like health potions. So you're not a chirurgeon. You're not a surgeon. You're a healer. So just think of this word as healer. So we have bomber, chirurgeon, healer, and next we have mutagenist, which just makes personally enhancing elixirs work better on you. You're a self-buffer. Usually this is to get your beat down on, so you drink a thing, grow claws and armor, and start ripping the shit out of people. Or you have better eyesight or speed or whatever. So bomber, healer, and mutagenist. Then we have toxicologist, which is just a fancy word for poisoner. You're especially good at putting more powerful poisons on your weapon before you hit people with them. So bomber, healer, self-buffer, and poisoner. Really, the bomber is probably the most iconically alchemist research field, because that's how the pictures work in books that show the alchemist on the covers. Just all alchemists are always throwing bombs, or carrying bombs, or covered in bombs, or there's explosions behind them, and they have little bomber glasses. So you throw bombs. But obviously, there's a lot more to it than that. You have options. Okay, so now here's where the complicated shit starts. Each research field, each type of alchemist, bomber, healer, self-buffer, and poisoner, all have alchemical crafting and get free alchemical items at the beginning of every day. So no matter what research field you take, you can make all the other research fields shit. It's just that your specific specialization gets a little boost in power and flexibility, like the number of that thing that you can make per day. So all alchemists can do roughly the same things. And this is why it's complicated, because since you can make any alchemical item during downtime and get free bonus ones every day, you can mix and match, which means that you have to decide what you're going to have on hand at any given time. It's complicated. It's a frustratingly large amount of things to manage. Often even for veteran players, it's the game of inventory management. And this is not the game for that. So you have a few options, really. You can try to read and learn about all the strengths of all the alchemical items, pick which ones you most like to use most often, then pick your research field based on that idea. Like, ooh, I like bombs. I'm going to be a bomber with some healing elixirs. That works. Or the easiest thing to do, pick only your research field's type of alchemical item to have on hand and to make every day. So you only have to learn that one type. And that's still going to be a lot of them. So you want to be a bomber? Be a bomber. Just be a bomber. Make everyone else worry about healing or buffing or poisoning. So you're just a bomber. It's the easiest way to start playing the alchemist and to understand them. As you get more comfortable with your default alchemical items that you just use all the time, then you can start adding more variety to your book. Alchemists have a huge degree of flexibility. You can always have something useful on hand once you get comfortable with what you're doing day to day, and you can take alchemist feats to accentuate this fact. Like, you can take a feat to pull out a bomb and throw it as a single action. Great if you're a bomber, which is why most people get into alchemy, because they think they're bombers. Or you can heal yourself if you already drunk a mutagen. Like, you drink a self-buffing thing, you make the self-buffing thing go away and heals you. It's useful. You can even have a familiar if you want with the alchemist, and there's a special familiar ability that allows you to feed a bomb to your familiar. They spit it out, and it's suddenly a damage over time instead of a splash bomb. It adheres to your enemy and melts them slowly instead of doing little damage to foes around them. I love that ability for familiars, and the effect is kind of fun too. And you can get demolition charge so you can blow up structures. There are a lot of tricks you can do with bombs and mutagens and poisons and a little bit of tricks with healing effects with an alchemist. See, I almost called him a bomber right then because that's what they are to me. If you want to see more about making a demolitionist alchemist, you can look at my Goblin Boom Thug video. I'll link it at the end. It has some useful tips and tricks in there for a bomber, like the demolition aspect. Like and share this video because it's useful. Or subscribe and turn on notifications to get more like this in the future. And remember, a fly can clean its head so forcefully and so quickly that it can rip its own head off. Seriously, look at this thing. It's freaking disgusting. Yeah.